And 3, 2, 1, action.
Where was G.K. Chesterton's fascination with the story derived from?
Well, if I remember right, he remembered it as a young boy because he was born in 1874, and I think the anniversary was 1878, and there was a English-wide celebration of it. So he had early memories of that, and that stuck with him. And then I think every schoolboy learned that story. You know, they learned it in history, and I think that was always in his imagination as he grew up. And when he became a poet, and his powers of poetry kind of became fulfilled, I think he just couldn't help but write the story because it's such a magnificent story.
Do you think G.K. Chesterton's personality traits were much like Alfred the Great?
I think that's a very good question. I hadn't thought about that, but I think they are. If you think of Alfred compared to, say, some of Chesterton's other heroes or other epic heroes like Beowulf, Alfred, there's a lot of humor there, and there's a lot of humility. So he had faith, he had strong belief, but he also realized his own sinfulness. And I think Chesterton was the same way. I mean, again, Chesterton was strong in a different way than Alfred, you know. But at the same time, Chesterton, he knew that he was a sinner. When someone wrote and asked once, Mr. Chesterton, what's wrong with the world? In the newspaper column he kept, his answer was, I am. You know, so he had that humility. And, you know, he's always funny. Yeah, I mean, once he has serious passages, but I can't think of an essay or a poem or a book he wrote that's not full of humor and wild adventures and so on. And so that's Alfred-like too. So I think you're right. I think Chesterton probably was drawn to Alfred because he saw some of himself in Alfred or some of Alfred in himself. And I think that's part of what makes this ballad different and great because, again, think of the Iliad and the Odyssey, think of Beowulf, think of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Most of those have very little or no humor and kind of zest for life. And the Ballad of the White Horse is full of that stuff. Even Lepanto, Chesterton's other epic, there's a little bit of ironic humor there with Cervantes at the end and so on. You know, kind of a little bit of joy. But the Ballad of the White Horse has it all the way through. And, you know, with the folk stories of the woman where he burns the cakes, and when he goes in disguise with the Danes, it's just hilarious. So again, long answer to your short question, but I think there's an affinity there. I think someone could write a paper about that.
What was the significance of the white horse in the ballad?
That's a big question. You know, if you have this edition of the book, the author, the editor goes through a bunch of possibilities. I mean, if you just read the poem, it's an image of purity, of gallantry, of tradition. You know, it's England itself. So Chesterton has another essay called A Piece of Chalk, where he goes out into the countryside to draw pictures. He's an artist as well. And he gets there and he realizes he's forgotten the white chalk that he needed. And then he realized all of a sudden that the downs, the landscape he's in, is made of white, you know, subsoil, white stone, and that all of England is essentially white chalk. And I think the horse is that way too. I think the whiteness, you know, I think Chesterton says at some point, whiteness isn't the absence of color, it's like the shining essence of color. I didn't say it as well as Chesterton, you know, but I think that horse standing out, there aren't that many other things in nature. There are some flowers that are white and some animals, but if you look at a forest or a landscape, we usually think of greens and browns and so on. The white horse it just shines out, right? So again, like tradition shines, and like our Catholic Christian tradition shines.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I could go on.
4.5 minutes.
I did. I kept like